everyone. Today let's learn a few important terms on the marginal costing, specifically from the point of view of final exams. Short-term questions related to marginal costing, like concepts on contribution, break-even points, and also for your 5 marks section B, to learn about how to calculate break-even point in terms of units and in terms of sales. We'll also learn what is angle of incidence, what is margin of safety. Okay, so these few terms in a very simpler way we are going to learn now. Right? Okay, what is contribution? Now contribution is nothing but the difference between the sales and the variable cost. Also we call it as a marginal cost of sales. Okay, now this is an excess of selling price over the variable cost per unit. Now how we are going to calculate it, that we will learn now. Sales minus or deduct from the sales the variable cost, what you get is a contribution, and deduct from the contribution fixed cost, what you get is a profit or a loss. Okay, now either way the contribution is a middle point between sales minus variable cost or fixed cost plus profit or fixed cost minus loss. Okay, now the formula here for calculating of the contribution is sales minus variable cost, or contribution is equal to fixed cost plus profit or fixed cost minus variable cost. Okay, now sales minus variable cost is equal to fixed cost plus profit. That is, sales minus variable cost is also equal to contribution, and fixed cost minus loss or fixed cost plus profit is also equal to contribution. Shall we learn this with a small problem now? We'll just check out here how to calculate the contribution. Imagine you have a sales of rupees 5 lakh, variable cost 2 lakh, and the fixed cost 1 lakh. Now sales minus variable cost is contribution, that is 5 lakh minus 2 lakh. Now what are we getting contribution here? 3 lakh. Okay, now less fixed cost, what you are getting is profit. Now check it out here. Profit plus fixed cost plus profit is also contribution, that is 3 lakh. Sales minus variable cost is also contribution, that is 3 lakh. Understood this concept? Now let's learn what is break-even point. This is very, very important from your exam point of view. In marginal costing, the most important term is break-even point. This is a point where your profit is 0, or I can say your loss is 0, or it's still more simpler way if I'll have to say, this is a point of volume of output where the total cost is equal to sales. Okay, now this is a point where there is no profit or no loss. Okay, 1 unit less than that point is loss, 1 unit more than that point is a profit. Okay, now this is minimum of production at which total cost is covered, and after this point your profit begins. Fine. Now how are we going to define this contribution? Now the break-even point is that point of activity where your total revenue and total expenses are equal. It is a point of 0 profit and 0 loss. We will first understand this along with angle of incidence and the margin of costing with a small graphical representation, and later on we are going to calculate one problem on break-even point. Fine. Like I said, marginal costing, if you take your total of the sales and the cost and then consider your output, see this blue line which I am explaining here is your fixed cost, and this green line is your total cost. Okay, now as you all know, in every business organization, whether you produce 0 product or you produce 1000 products, there are certain types of fixed costs which always remain fixed, no matter whether your production increases or your production decreases. Now, based on this difference between your variable cost and the fixed cost, the total cost is where we are going to analyze how your break-even point we can consider here. Now this is a line which I am representing here is your sales. Understood? Now you have a sales and cost, you have output, you have your fixed cost line, which is blue one, green one is your total cost line, and then if you check your sales line, now can you see this, your total cost line and your sales line is intersecting at this point, right? So this is the point which I was been telling you about. Now this point where your sales intersect with your total cost, this point is nothing but your break-even point. Okay, now any production which is more than this point is your profit. Any production which is less than this point is a loss. Understood? Now also I'll explain you that there is this angle which you can see here between your actual sales and your total cost. This angle is nothing but angle of incidence. Okay, and this is from this break-even point, anything after this break-even point, that is the difference between your actual sales and your break-even point sales, is margin of safety. Understood? This is very simple way to understand what is a break-even point, what is your angle of incidence, and your margin of safety. Understood? So let's learn now to calculate break-even point and in terms of sales and break-even point in terms of units with a small example. Okay. Before that, like I said you, what is angle of incidence? I said angle of incidence is this angle between the sales and the cost line. Okay, this is the angle which is formed as an intersection of the total cost and the sales line. This indicates profit earning capacity of a firm. This indicates your profit earning capacity of a firm. Okay, now let's learn calculation of break-even point. Now break-even point formula I'll tell you in terms of units, and break-even point formula in terms of sales. Before that, let's take down one small question here on BEP. To calculate the break-even point, fixed expenses you have 3 lakh, variable cost per unit you have 20 rupees, selling price per unit you have rupees 30. Now what is the formula for the break-even points in units? Fixed cost divided by selling price minus marginal cost per unit. Okay. Now BEP in units equals to, you will have to take fixed cost, which is 3 lakh, divided by selling price minus marginal cost per unit. Selling price is how much? 30 rupees and variable cost is 20. So 3 lakh divided by 30 minus 20, break-even points in units is 30,000 units. What does it mean? It means that 1 unit you produce less than 30,000, 29,999 means you are in loss. 1 unit you produce more than this break-even point, that is 30,001 unit. If you produce that, one more unit that you have produced, an additional unit which you have produced is going to give you a profit. Okay, so that's the break-even point in terms of units. Now we'll try to understand what is break-even point in terms of sales. Break-even point in terms of sales is fixed cost multiplied by selling price divided by selling price minus variable cost per unit. It's very simple. Take fixed cost, multiply that with a selling price, whole divided by selling price per unit minus variable cost per unit. Now how much is the fixed cost you have? 3 lakh. Multiply it with a selling price. whole divided by 30 minus 20, that is selling price per unit divided by variable cost per unit. So your break-even point in terms of sales is 9 lakh. What does it mean? That means anything that your sales in terms of rupees, if here is 9 lakh, that means anything more than 9 lakh will give you profit, anything less than 9 lakh will give you loss. So this is a point, 9 lakh sales if you have, you are having no profit or no loss. Understood? So you have to, in order to gain profit, you have to have your sales more than 9 lakh. So minimum amount of sales that you need to produce to cover up your total cost is rupees 9 lakh. So these are the terms that we have learned for the day. In the next class, we are going to learn more problems on the marginal costing, bigger problems for your section C for KOD BCom exams, which for 15 marks. Specifically marginal costing, you are having it for your case studies also. So that we are going to learn in the next class. Fine. So done for the day. Thank you.